All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this second session of the Energy Healing Workshop series. And today we're talking about clearing. I'm super excited to be talking about clearing our energy. I think that for me, at least after grounding, clearing feels like one of the most powerful ways to work with my energy in a way that kind of reclaims energetic sovereignty, kind of takes my power back. I think that it's really often, especially in this world where we don't talk or think about things in forms of energy, it can be really common to like forget that we need to clear our energy, or that our energy can get like cluttered, so to speak. And so I know that for myself, when I first started doing energy work, I had a lot of clearing to do and a lot of unwinding to do before I felt like completely clear. The analogy I use sometimes is like on an energetic point, it's almost like we had like a house party and we didn't clean up the mess and we kind of left it. And then when we come back into relationship with energy work, we're like cleaning up, so to speak, stuff that might have been untended for a really long time. And so I think clearing and unwinding our nervous systems and clearing our energy can be a really potent tool for coming back into relationship with ourselves and really reclaiming what is ours and what is ours now in this moment, as opposed to what was ours 10 or 5 years ago, or what maybe someone else put on us. And so before we get too much deeper into talking about this, I want to just land in the space and do a little bit of energy clearing. I think that for me, breath work is probably one of the most potent ways to clear our energy, our breath. It's something that we do naturally. We don't have to think about it. Oftentimes, I think probably all of us on an intuitive level have had a moment where something happened and then we just like exhaled really like loudly or really intensely. And that to me is the wisdom of our body helping us to clear the energy of a situation, right? I know that I've had that on the road, right? When I'm driving and something stressful happens, and like to kind of clear that stress from my nervous system, it's like, okay, let me like breathe out really intensely. So I want to invite us into a practice of doing a little bit of that right now. So I'll invite us to just start tuning into our breath, breathing in through our mouth or through our nose, whatever feels right. And just tuning into our own breath here. And since we're focusing on clearing, I invite you to pay special attention to your exhale, maybe allowing your exhale to be longer than your inhale. And as you breathe here, if you wish, you can place hands on your belly or maybe your side ribs. And then you can kind of feel the way that the breath clears you, so to speak, on that exhale, feeling the contraction of our body as we exhale. And on the inhale, each time bringing in new energy. As we continue to breathe, I just invite you to notice, how are you feeling? How is this breath landing? Has there been a tiny shift in these few breaths we've taken? And if not, that's okay too. We're just observing ourselves here. Ooh, and on your next inhale, I invite you to take maybe the biggest inhale that you've taken today. Breathing in and really filling your body up, maybe taking a few more sips at the top of that breath. And then when you exhale, I invite you to just open your mouth. Maybe you want to stick your tongue out, kind of like a lion's breath, and just really let it out. We're going to experiment with a couple of funny exhales. We have that lion's breath that we just tried, where you're sticking your tongue out and kind of we can try a snake's breath as well. So this one, we're going to inhale again, really big inhale. And then on our exhale, we're going to make kind of a hissing sound. And let yourself go for maybe longer than feels natural on this one or makes sense. On these S breaths, I find I can let go of so much more air than when I'm just breathing normally. Let's do another snake breath like that. Breathing in and just letting ourselves. Yeah. And then the last one I'll introduce here is just a really simple kind of like O exhale where we kind of like push the breath out. This is one that I use very frequently. I use it without thinking a lot of times when I need to clear. And so it's a breathe in and then just almost like we're like blowing dust off something, Indiana Jones style. Let's do one more breath in whatever style you liked, however feels good for you. We'll just do one more clearing breath here. Ooh, all right. Thank you so much for moving through that with me. Feel free to get some water, jot down in your journal how that felt, or if you want, type in the chat how that felt for you if you wish. I can feel my energy feels much calmer now. I feel like it was a little buzzy when we were starting, and I can feel a different level of ease after doing some of that breath work. Yeah. So when we're talking about clearing energy, again, I feel like breath is such a potent tool, primarily because it's always accessible to us. The breath is always accessible to us. And I feel like that's, for me, one of the reasons I think I like it most. I am a person who I love tools, I love supplies, I love all the trinkets and crystals and things like that. And sometimes I can find that, like, I don't want to say like too much of a dependency, but there's this idea that like, oh, I forgot, my sage, I can't do clearing, or, oh, I don't have this particular tool, so I can't necessarily clear my energy. And it's one of the reasons I love breath, because we always have access to the breath. The breath is always with us, and we don't even need to think about it. It's just here for us. I'm seeing some definitely feel a little bit more relaxed and calm now. Letting the rest of the day go. Feeling mind clear to just experience this. Yeah, after thinking all day. Yes. Thank you for those reflections. And I want to really just like anchor into that shift, right? Of feeling more present in this moment, feeling like we're letting go a little bit of the day. After just a few moments of intentional breathing, we can feel this potent clearing. And I think it's really important as we move into energy work, which can be subtle and it can be intangible, to really anchor into these tiny micro shifts that we experience, because it can help our ego and our mind to buy in a little bit more to these practices, to see them as useful and not as a waste of time. I know that myself, even still, it's really easy for me to be like, I don't have time, I need to rush, or I'm going to be late. When really like taking 5 minutes to do a couple of deep breaths, even 3 minutes to do a couple of deep breaths, would probably not actually make me late, and would probably make my travel experience and the rest of my day just feel more enriched. So I also think I want to name that like clearing can be really potent to be used in between activities, when we're switching tasks, when we're moving from one specific kind of work to another. Doing just a little breath work like that can be really potent. To me, clearing our energy it's a lot about movement, right? It's a lot about like moving certain energy out of us. So we talked about the breath and how that can do that for us. There's other ways that we can clear our energy as well, right? So even getting up and moving around can be a really potent way to clear or change our energy, so to speak, whether that's taking a walk, whether that's dancing, whether that's literally just like walking around our house before we sit right back down in the same seat. That simple activity of moving can help our energy to move and clear, and for us to gain some new perspectives. I also think that dancing can be a really powerful way to clear our energy. Like when we give ourselves permission to move our bodies like that, in an intuitive way, because sound is another really potent way to clear our energy. I don't know if anyone here has ever listened to any of like the singing bowls or like sound healing kind of tracks, but sound can be a really potent way to clear our energy. So even just putting on a song, and I think we all probably have had this experience where like we put on a favorite song and all of a sudden our energy has shifted, right? Like we sing along with the song and it shifts our energy. Even just hearing some of the lyrics can shift our energy. And so I want to anchor into as well the power of sound and how that can really help to change up the vibrations that exist within us. Yeah, it feels like, yeah, because energy, again, right, really intangible and very susceptible to vibrational frequencies. And so again, sound, movement, like even like stomping our feet in a rhythm or like can help clear energy, like any kind of like rhythmic movement. I have a drum that I'll use sometimes to clear my energy, particularly like help me move rage, because I feel like I know for me, like rage or anger is an emotion that I feel very viscerally in my body. And it's useful to a certain extent. And I also don't want to necessarily carry that rage and like accidentally spew it onto other people. And so having a practice of drumming or even just letting myself yell again, right? Like letting our voice and our breath move the energy out of us can be a really powerful way to work with and harness that energy without unintentionally kind of spewing it onto my loved ones or other people in my community. Because I think that happens a lot when we're not aware of our energy, when we're not clearing our energy. A lot of times the way that we end up clearing is we put it onto someone else, right? Whether that's intentional or not. And so learning how to clear our energy is such a powerful way to break some of these like cycles. Like I'm thinking of like the cycle of yelling kind of thing, where it's like we just keep passing it on, and clearing our energy kind of breaks that cycle and says, no, I'm going to clear it. I'm going to give it back to the earth and let it go, and not put it on someone else to deal with. So I think clearing can be also like a service that we do for our loved ones and the people in our world as well. Yeah, so I've talked about sound, and I've talked about moving, and I've talked about breath. And so all of those, one of the reasons I really like all of those as tools is, again, because they can be done almost anywhere at any time, especially nowadays with like us having access to almost every song that we could ever want on our phones. Like we can do this kind of clearing work anywhere, anytime. I'm seeing some stuff in the chat here. Yeah, singing dramatically shifts my energy. Yeah, making space to listen deeply to our loved ones, for sure. Because I know that when I'm carrying too much that I haven't cleared or released, I don't have space to hold for other people a lot of times, because that energy is taking up the space. And yeah, it reminds me that you only need a few minutes to feel this way, right? We don't need to do a 30-minute yoga session or anything. We can just shift in the moment. And I love, yeah, that to me feels like the power of energy work is that it can be these like micro moments that we can weave into our day. So that was kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about too, before we actually move into like a tapping kind of energy clearing activity. Is talking about like, when might we be able to access this clearing? When could we do this? So I've mentioned like while we're in the car, before we're switching tasks. One of the other big spaces for me to do energy clearing is actually in the restroom. I'm already doing like physical clearing with my body of like letting go what doesn't serve me. And so I'll also use that as an opportunity to energetically let go of what doesn't serve me and give it to the water. Also, when we're washing our hands, utilizing and like working with the water to like ask it, also help me clear any energy that I'm still carrying as we wash our hands, can be a beautiful way to also like clear our physical and energetic body. I know that when I worked in retail and I was touching a lot of things, that practice was super potent for me. Because yeah, I was in contact with so many different things, that being able to just wash my hands and like ask the water to help clear the energy from me, from my body, would dramatically shift the kind of buzziness that I was feeling and bring me down to a little bit more calm. I see another comment here. I feel like, especially with traveling too, it can be easier to deal with the stress and not spew it on others. Yeah, road rage. Yep. Yeah, flight delays and stuff like that. Totally. And I think too, it's like where it sometimes like, well, I was going to say is healthy, but yeah, when we can just let it out and not, but in a way that's not harmful, right? It's not harming anyone. Like if I'm in my car and I'm yelling, like in a way the energy is going out, and ideally we don't want to direct that at people. That's not like so awesome. And at the same time, like I am by myself just yelling. So like, it's not like I'm going up to anyone and actually doing physical harm. And so I want to, yeah, just name that release, like really can build our capacity to handle a lot of different stressors. I know when I'm doing like really good work around clearing, I just have a lot of like higher tolerance for certain things because I'm not like full up of all of this other stuff. I have more space for softness and space for patience. Yeah. Oh, the one other one, and maybe I'll do this one first as part of our kind of activity. As I know some folks have done tapping with me before. So that was what I was gonna lead us through, because I think, again, tapping can be a really powerful way to unlodge energy that's been trapped in our physical body. Sometimes breath alone or even movement alone isn't enough to kind of like dislodge some of the energies that might be trapped within us. So tapping can be a super powerful way. So we're going to move into that. We're going to do a little tapping, and we're going to do a little kind of like wiping is what I call it. But I do want to make a little space before we shift into that kind of experiential space, because I've said a lot and I didn't know if there was any questions or anything that came up that anyone wants to just name either with voice or in the chat just before we switch gears there. Mm-hmm.
I just want to like echo and like thank you for like saying of like, yeah, that like releasing and clearing like makes space for us to have like more like softness and like more patience. Cause like, yeah, when I'm feeling overwhelmed and there's too much, then like, yeah, that's when my like temper is shorter. And that's when like the stressors I'm thinking like at work, like dealing with kids and stuff too is like harder. Whereas like, if I take a moment and like let some stuff go and like then go into work, like I feel a lot more, like capable of dealing with stress, but I've never thought about it like that before. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. Well, because it also feels like, I mean, you know, another way to like help our energy feel cleared or to clear is actually clearing our physical space of clutter, of things that don't serve us, that things don't bring us joy. And in the same way that like when we clear something in our space, I'm thinking of a couple weeks ago, I like cleared out my closet. And like when I looked at it, like I felt more relaxed. Like I felt like I could take a bigger breath because it wasn't so like crammed tight with stuff. And I feel like that same analogy can be used for our energy body, for our physical body as well. That when we pack ourselves too tightly, again, like my body just did, it like feels really tight. And when we start to let go a little bit, we have more space. We can physically take up more space even as we've cleared from within us. All right. So I'd love to lead us through some tapping. So I was introduced to tapping years and years ago, actually by my mom, Michelle. And it's known as or I've known it as the emotional freedom technique. You can just call it tapping. And we're going to move through kind of like, I'll guide us through some tapping points, and know that if you ever want to use this practice on your own, that like you can literally tap anywhere on your body that is feeling like you're feeling called to tap. This system specifically works with like meridian points and different points that are particularly energetically charged. And yet this is going to be potent whether you're tapping like here on your chest or like on the back of your neck. So I want to just encourage you to follow the guidance as we go through, but also trust your own intuition. And if you want to stay on a spot for longer, please feel free to do that. All right. So I'm just kind of like charging my hands. If you want to do that, you can do the same. Sometimes before I do this kind of work, I like to kind of like physically brush my hands off. Like I'm, physically clearing my hands of energy I don't want to keep tapping into myself. And so for the tapping, you can use just one finger. You can use a couple fingers. I tend to do kind of like I want like a glittery kind of tap where it's like a bunch. Again, try different things out. What feels good. And then I also want to encourage you to, when you're tapping, kind of think of a more like pulling out motion with the tap rather than like forcing in, right? We're doing this to kind of help ourselves like create space and clear. So as we're tapping, there is this kind of like intention to help like bring out or move. But again, like do what feels good for you. There is no right and wrong in this. We're literally tapping on our bodies to help us move energy. And there's no like right or wrong here. So we're going to go ahead and start like near our forehead space, on that space where our third eye is, or in between our eyebrows. And I'm going to say some affirmations as we're doing this. They're going to be framed in a kind of even though. So I'll start with like, even though there's a lot of change happening, I still love and respect myself. I'll stay on that point there. Even though there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, I still deeply trust myself. Tap just a smidgen longer right there. Even though I can't necessarily see the future clearly, I trust myself to navigate it with grace. And as you feel ready, you can switch that point kind of on the outside of your eye crease here, near your temple. Continuing to breathe. Even though there's a lot that feels like it's out of my control, I still accept myself. I'm still willing to give myself love. Swapping to that point by the nose and the inner crease of the eyes. Even as I try to embrace change as my friend, I'm willing to be patient and loving with myself. Swapping to that like inner crease above our lip and under our nose. Even though sometimes I feel like I don't know what to do, I'm still willing to trust myself and love myself. Swapping to that crease just under our lip on our chin. Even though I don't know exactly what will come tomorrow or the next day, I'm willing to love and accept myself now. Swapping down to this kind of collarbone, under our collarbones, on our chest. Even though sometimes I feel really overwhelmed and alone, I'm willing to give myself a little more love right now. Swapping to that sternum point in the middle of our chest, tapping gently there. Even though I know I've made mistakes in the past, I'm willing to forgive myself now. Even though I know I'll make mistakes in the future, I'm willing to love myself now. Swapping to that point on our ribs, kind of in line with where our nipples are, just below our chest there. Even though there's so much in this world that is out of my control, and that makes me feel angry or powerless, I'm willing to accept myself and reclaim my power now. Swapping to tap underneath our armpit, kind of on our third rib down, just wherever feels good for you under your armpit here. Continuing to breathe and knowing that if the tapping feels too intense, we can do a gentle rub here as well. Even though sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm doing, I'm still willing to trust myself and love myself now. Swapping to tap under the other armpit if you were just doing one. Even though this world is transforming and changing so fast, I'm still willing to trust myself and love myself now. Swapping to tap on the, let's do on the back of our hand. Even though sometimes it feels like there's more I should or could be doing, I'm willing to accept and love all that I've done and do now. Swapping to tap on that kind of fleshy point underneath our pinky. Even though sometimes I want to do more and be more, I'm willing to accept myself exactly as I am right now. Swapping to tap on the back of the other hand here. Even though I want everything I do to be a success. I'm willing to accept myself even when I feel like I fail. Swapping to tap on that fleshy point underneath our pinky here. Even though I want to be perfect, I'm willing to accept myself and all my imperfections. I'm willing to love myself unconditionally. Mm. Mm. And finally, we'll switch to just tap around the top of our head here. Even though there's so much in my world that is out of my control, I am willing to love and accept myself now. Even though I will make decisions that are not always perfect, I'm willing to love and accept myself now. Even though sometimes I might feel like a failure, I'm still willing to love myself unconditionally and to accept myself fully now. I invite you to take a few moments here to tap intuitively anywhere on your body that feels like it wants a little bit of attention, and give yourself permission, since you're all muted and in your own space, to speak any affirmations that want to come through for you now. Ooh. Mm. Mm. Continue tapping on your body or gently rubbing on any of these points that feel good. And whenever you feel complete, I invite you to just let yourself come into some gentle stillness. Maybe your stillness looks like rocking, like I'm doing right now, or swaying. Giving ourselves any other gentle movement that feels good here. Mm. Mm. And as you come into stillness here in whatever way feels good for you, I want to invite in a little bit of kind of wiping or rubbing. I don't know about you, but my energy is feeling very tingly right now, and it feels good. And I also want to kind of soften some of that out. So I want to give you permission to just kind of maybe wipe down your arms if that feels good. Maybe you want to wipe down your face or neck. Ooh, maybe you want to brush some stuff off your chest or your shoulders. We shook a lot of stuff up there. Maybe we want to brush some stuff off here. Maybe we just want to sit in that energy, sit in that fuzzy, and that's okay too. We can sit in stillness or swaying. Ooh, trusting the intelligence of our body here. And as you feel complete here, I invite you, before we come back for shares, to just drop into your journal. Maybe jotting down how this experience felt for you. Maybe you just want to sit in the energy a little longer, really let it soak in. That's okay too. Mm. Mm. Mhm. As we're still reflecting on this, I also want to, just because of timing, invite, if anyone wants to share how this experience felt, to do so. Or we can also just sit in this energy for a little longer. Yeah, I see a comment in the chat here. That felt so good. I definitely agree. Noticeable physical and emotional shifts for me. Thank you. I can't wait to watch the recording again. Thanks.
For me, it reminded me that, especially with this tapping technique, that it's emotional, right? Because especially with the affirmations, you're kind of acknowledging how you feel in that moment. And you know, I feel like part of the reason why we burn out, part of the reason why we get so tired is because we resist feeling. Like we know we don't feel good. We're trying to distract ourselves from other things, watching YouTube or finding other ways to be distracted. And I think that with this tapping technique, it's really like it's effort. Like you do have to put in an effort and put yourself in the emotion so that you can let it go. So I felt the effort of that, but it also leads to this release, which I feel grounded enough now. I feel relaxed enough now that all of this tiredness and all of this grumpiness that I've been battling all day, I'm like, okay, now I can rest. Now I can take a nap. Now I can finally relax into it instead of pushing it away and not wanting to feel it, So really, really great experience for me.
Yeah. And thank you so much for that reminder of the work that we're doing as we do this clearing, and the commitment we're making to ourselves as we step every time we do these practices. Because when we have to face and look at it, it's not always enjoyable. And yet it can create feelings of calm and ease. Thank you. I'm seeing other comments in the chat here. I feel calmer, but also a bit more awake and alert. And I also see it felt nice to let my body lead the way. Yes, I love both of those. And yeah, I do think tapping can also kind of activate and stimulate our energy and get things moving in a way that can also be really exciting, right? Because I think of like clearing, I live down in New Orleans where there's a lot of bayous, right? And so it's stagnant water that gets gross and smelly and yucky. And the movement of the current is what keeps the water clean. And so part of clearing our energy is moving the energy so that it can be clear, fluid, flowing energy, as opposed to that kind of dank and like mucky, smelly energy, so to speak, to use water as an analogy. So yeah, I think that like a lot of times when we do clearing, it can also revitalize us, because the dense energy that's stuck in us can weigh us down, and create exhaustion. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you all were here, and for everyone watching the recording, super glad for you to have moved through this with me. We're reaching towards the end of our time together, and I want to just remind us that almost all the practices that we did today, they don't require really any tools or any planning. We can do them anytime, anywhere. We can do just a couple moments of it, or we can sink into a really long practice. I know for that tapping, I've done that where I'm like, whoa, it's been an hour and I'm still like tapping. And so it can definitely, we can give ourselves as much space as we have or want to do this, to do these clearing. And I also want to just do a couple little plugs. So I have a Reiki training coming up in June. Reiki Energy is a really potent and powerful ally for anyone who is really working to come back into relationship with our energy, come back into relationship with our power, our intuition, and reclaim our sovereignty, so to speak. Reiki is spiritually wise life force energy that was originally channeled in, it's a technique that was originally, comes from Japan, and is spread and is used all over. And I've been working with this energy for the past, since 2015, so almost 7 years. And I think it's just, yeah, a really powerful tool for self-empowerment, and for self-healing. And so I have a training coming up in June. I will drop the registration form that I thought I had logged up here. But if you're interested in talking with me more about what Reiki training could look like, I'll drop my Calendly link in here for a free call. If you're interested in learning more about what Reiki could do for you or what Reiki is, I would love to chat with you. I teach Reiki in a very intuitive way, in a way that is very, yeah, it's intuitive. It doesn't have as many of the rules as some of the systems have. I'm trained in both the traditional Usui Reiki and the Holy Fire Reiki. And I'll say that working with this energy has really helped me to clear and to wake up my subtle senses and become more like just in tune with myself, with my body, with my energy, with energy around me. Some of my students have said that it has made it easier for them to forgive themselves, that it's made them feel more sensitive and aware to their loved ones and their energy and their needs. So it can be just a really powerful ally in our journey to reclaim our power, to live more in alignment with our truth, and to trust ourselves. I think that's probably one of the biggest gifts that Reiki has given me is more self-trust. We live in a world that kind of conditions us to look outside of ourselves for answers, for authority and all of that. I think it's really important for us to be able to listen to our own intuition. So I'll go ahead and also drop the registration form in there. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to offer that. It's an online training. I was trained within the last couple of years to teach online, and I find it to be really potent and powerful because there's something really magical about when we're in our own space. We have a little bit more safety maybe in our energetic field, and it allows a little bit more juiciness, I think, for the experience than because I've also been trained in person, and there's a different kind of commingling of energy that happens when we're all in one room together versus when we have kind of our sovereign space in our own rooms, in our own homes. Yeah, so I would love for any or all of you to join me in that training. And if there's a part of you that's like, that sounds interesting, please schedule a call with me. The Reiki is really wise and comes into our lives at the perfect time in the perfect space. Yeah, we just got to be willing to trust ourselves and trust it. Say yes. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you everyone who joined in on the recording. Know that this was recorded at this one time, but whenever you're watching it is the perfect time. Bye now.